going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about why your quarterback might just stink within college football 26, why your quarterback is missing way more passes than they probably should, and everything that surrounds that. There's been a lot of coverage out there about some of the gameplay issues within CFB 26, and I've personally seen a lot of people, myself and my friends included, complaining about the fact that high overall quarterbacks are overthrowing, underthrowing passes, and there's a lot of factors that go on here. And I want to preface this by saying that it is not all due to the quarterbacks. Some of it is due to player skill, but I also want to cover some of the other aspects just very quickly so that you guys understand. I do have kind of a full comprehensive overview as to why your quarterbacks might not be doing so well. Some of those things are related to animations with receivers and defensive backs. There are a lot of receivers that are animating when they don't need to be. There's a lot of videos out there you guys can see for specific gameplay if you want, of receivers jumping to catch the ball whenever they're wide open, the ball's thrown right at them, and those types of things. So there's just a lot of wonky stuff going on there. There's a lot of quarterback pressure this year. There's a lot of issues with offensive line blocking that is generating pressure for quarterbacks. So there are certainly a lot of issues that are creating inaccurate opportunities for quarterbacks. But realistically speaking, I wanted to show you guys the stats for my quarterbacks here because Nussmeier got injured for me 2 times this year. He was out for a significant portion of the year. And when he was out, it felt like Michael Van Buren was just simply a far better quarterback. And I really just was trying to wrap my head around why that would be. I couldn't specifically put my finger on a throwing style or something like that, but what I do want to take a look at is some ratings, some abilities, and we can have a discussion about it down in the comments section. And like I said, all those other factors do come into play, but Nussmeier does not feel like a 92 overall quarterback, and that's one of my biggest issues with the gameplay within college football 26, and we'll talk about similar things with offensive line and other positions within other videos. I specifically want to make a video about offensive line because there are some reasons that I've been able to find that are causing offensive linemen to just not block players and those types of things, and they can be fixed with user intervention. It won't be perfect. The blocking schemes in the game are not very good, but there are some things going on there, and maybe we'll be able to come to some similar conclusions today. But taking a look at the stats, let's just break it down. Obviously, we had more time with Nussmeier, but we have a difference between a 92 overall quarterback and a 76 overall quarterback. And, their big thing with the abilities, why EA has leaned so heavily into abilities and whatnot, and their big thing with skill caps and devs and the progression system in this game is that a 92 overall player should feel a lot different than a 76 overall player, especially a 92 overall, been in the league for a while, star development player, 4-star rated quarterback coming in out of high school. That guy should be a whole heck of a lot better and feel a whole lot different and feel a whole lot more accurate to play as than a 76 overall 3-star sophomore coming out of high school impact development quarterback. But the reality of the situation is, in every league that I've played so far, these high overall quarterbacks do not play or live up to their potential, and very often their backups are just doing better. Now, I can't specifically see what is going on because my first thought would be maybe it's their throwing style. But if I go in and edit these players, I can't actually see if there's a difference in their throwing style because everything for both of these players is set to default. And so in Dynasty mode, at the very least, I can't come to a direct conclusion as to why they feel so different. Looking at the stats, we can see that Van Buren had 63% completion for a 76 overall, while as we had 60% completion for a 92 overall. And we had quite a bit of a difference in terms of yards, but our touchdown percentage was higher and our touchdown to interception ratio was much higher for Van Buren. I found myself not throwing as many inaccurate passes with Van Buren as I did with Nussmeier. For some reason, Nussmeier seems to over and underthrow just about every throw that matters whenever I'm playing in games, and that leads to me losing very important games. Whereas when Van Buren was in, you would get the occasional inaccurate pass, which made sense for a 76 overall, but it felt like a traditional missed pass based on a low overall quarterback. Whereas that's not the case for a 92 overall Nussmeier. For some reason, when he was missing passes, it was like the game was scripting him to miss those passes. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel organic in any way, shape, or form. But Van Buren's missed passes felt like, okay, I didn't have my feet set. Okay, I was getting hit. And so that pass was more inaccurate than it would be with a really highly rated quarterback. Well, that still doesn't tell me a whole lot, but again, the stats here are a lot better. A 3.3 touchdown to interception ratio is way better on a 76 overall nonetheless than a 92 overall having a 1.4 touchdown to interception ratio. Yards per attempt were up with this quarterback as well. Adjusted net yards per attempt were up. The yards per game was a little bit lower, so maybe we were calling plays a little bit differently. But ultimately, I think what that boils down to is we were just playing better with him, and so there was less need to try to throw the ball quite as much. We were converting on touchdowns at a higher ratio, and so there was less need to throw the ball even more. We weren't getting behind quite as much, and that shows in his quarterback rating and all of those types of things. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is they are two completely different styles of quarterbacks. So Nussmeier through and through is a pocket passer, while as Van Buren is a dual threat type of a quarterback, and we'll take a look at ratings here in a moment. But I played with them in the same offensive scheme and did mostly the same things with these guys. There really wasn't a whole lot different in terms of my play calling. I was trying to execute the same play calls, and I was just executing them better with the 76 overall sophomore quarterback, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. When you're not calling read options and RPOs and all that type of different stuff, you're just calling a traditional pocket quarterback style of offense. You would think that 92 overall pocket quarterback would be doing a better job. Okay, so then let's take a look at some ratings and some abilities. Nussmeier's abilities are really solid, but for some reason, they really just don't seem to make much of a difference. He has silver resistance, gold step up, silver sleight of hand, silver dot, and the maxed out on-time ability. And so you would think, even beyond being a 92 overall, he would just be absolutely dotting up all the time, and he just wasn't, and the stats bear that out, and it doesn't quite make sense. But then you take a look at Michael Van Buren, and I don't even think he has any abilities. He has the bronze dot, he has bronze option king, bronze extender, bronze downhill, and silver mobile resistance, but none of that is going to make him a more accurate quarterback as a whole, running the same type of plays in comparison to Nussmeier. None of it quite makes sense. So what's going on here? Okay, well, let's take a look at some of the ratings as well. Well, we take a look at their overalls, and, obviously we note the 92 to 76 difference. The awareness for Nussmeier is much higher than the awareness for Van Buren. The throw power is much higher. So I'm thinking maybe a higher throw power is not necessarily a good thing in this game. This is one of the few things that I've been able to boil it down to as a potential possibility, is that if you have a stronger arm, you're more likely to get those inaccurate passes, trying to whip the ball downfield quicker. We also have 94 short accuracy, 92 mid, and 87 deep accuracy as compared to 80, 76, and 71. We have a much better throw on the run rating for Van Buren, but we have an 87 throw under pressure rating for Nussmeier, which does not seem to make a difference, because anytime there's pressure in Nussmeier's face whatsoever in this game, he is throwing an incomplete pass. It is going to go short. It's going to be intercepted by a defensive lineman. It's going to be some type of silly thing going on. And for some reason, Michael Van Buren, despite only having 72 throw under pressure, throws the ball better out of pressure. And so really, I think one of the things that could boil down to is a different throwing style. And as with every year in these EA football games, your throwing style is going to make a massive difference. The play action rating, a significant difference here between 78 and 57. And so, outside of that and a little bit of potential mobility that we have with Van Buren that we didn't really attempt to utilize, there's no explicable way to say why Van Buren is just simply the better player within CFB 26 as compared to 92 overall Nussmeier. And I don't know, I normally consider myself the kind of like Dynasty franchise information king when it comes to this type of stuff, but I can't find anywhere that it's going to show me the throwing style difference between these two quarterbacks. I tried to edit them on the main menu on the roster, and I cannot see what their throwing style is. The best I got was the default setting that it showed for both quarterbacks within Dynasty mode. So if you guys know if there's some way that I can see what their throwing animation is, which would personally be the most likely explanation for me, but being that they both show as a default throwing animation, I really don't have a whole lot of explanation here, other than the fact that the game is scripted and ratings don't actually matter for the quarterback position within this game. And honestly, the sad part is that it kind of also lends itself to the idea that abilities might not even matter at the quarterback position, to be 100% honest with you based on what I've seen so far. The only thing that I still come back to that might be a substantial difference is the difference between the 96 and the 88 throw power. And whenever I've been playing with UCLA, it kind of seems like it's the same idea, because my backup quarterbacks have been significantly better than Nico Iamaleava. I don't know how you say his name. But similar thing, where he comes in as like an 88 overall, 97 throw power, really solid accuracies across the board, good throw on the run. Now he has bad throw under pressure, but no different than Van Buren. And I can't seem to put a finger on it, other than maybe it's his throw power that is one of the big factors. Having too high of a throw power is actually causing some of these players to have issues throwing the ball accurately within this game. And again, this is another, high-end, 5-star recruit, really high development player that just does not play the way you think that they would within College Football 26. Now, what I did want to show you guys is a substantial reason as to why other positions are potentially not playing up to their expectations. And I'm not going to get super deep into this because I want to reserve a full video to talking about this, but I just want you to take a look at the awareness rating for my offensive linemen. 63, 72, 63, 79, 57, 69, 56, and then the right tackle, who does play consistently well, has 89 awareness, but then 64 and 44. And this isn't the only team that's like this. A ton of teams within this game actually have very similar things going on with their offensive line, and it is potentially causing a lot of the issues that we've seen with very poor blocking within the game. Very low awareness players potentially starting for you, like 61 awareness for the highest overall right guard here, 55 awareness for the highest overall left guard on this team. And those are not even close to acceptable awareness ratings. So, without going super deep into this, I want to just say that the player overalls are being hyperinflated within this game, because that means that they are being completely rated based off of pass blocking and run blocking grades. And that awareness is horrendous. And if anybody knows anything about offensive line play, you need, kind of minimum of like 75 awareness to be able to do anything effectively. And if you want any type of consistency and solid play from your offensive line, you need 80 plus awareness. And so that's just one example of ratings wonkiness within this game that is potentially causing issues with the way the game plays and the way that they've designed things. And so that's also kind of what leads me to believe that maybe the throw power aspect is causing issues within this game. And I'm going to test this more, and I want you guys to leave your comments down in the comment section below and let me know what your experiences are with your quarterbacks and whatnot within the game. But ultimately what this comes down to is there are a lot of hyper-inflated ratings within this game, especially with teams that shouldn't be good or shouldn't be rated high. As an example, you talk about teams that didn't even have a positive record last year, like Oklahoma being an 89 overall team despite having like 2 wins in their conference or something last year and going like 6 and 7 or something. They are one of the highest overall teams within the game for some reason, and I get transfers and all this different stuff, but I'm sorry, if you finished like 10th in the SEC or whatever the Oklahoma Sooners did, you shouldn't be rated above like an 84 overall. And so there's just a lot of general ratings issues within this game. And now I'll probably get shadow banned for saying this because I got shadow banned from Madden and couldn't join any dynasties on my main account or any franchises on my main account because I spoke up against their ratings adjusters and the fact that they have no clue what they're doing. But I'm going to say the same thing here. I don't think that the guys over there at EA CFB know what they're doing ratings wise, and I truly don't think that they understand how their player ratings actually interact with the way the game plays. And I think that is genuinely what is causing a lot of the issues that people are noting as far as the gameplay within CFB 26, whether it be bad quarterback play, whether it be wide receivers not catching the ball, whether that be offensive line not blocking. I could go on and on and on, and we'll make further videos about it. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. To avoid me rambling, I'm going to try to finish up here. So like I said, leave that comment down in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts and what your experiences have been so far with everything we've talked about within this game. Or if you have any specific theories on quarterbacks specifically and why the high overall quarterbacks are just simply not playing the way you would expect a 90+ overall quarterback to play. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoy these types of discussion topics and deep dives into ratings, abilities, and whatnot as far as what's actually important and what's affecting your gameplay within college football. And subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. As always, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a good one.